What do you do after playing football? My top 3 suggestions: stretching, showering, and the mandatory trip to the pub for a beer or two. But how about brainstorming how to make bills management easier? Today, we have the pleasure of diving into ApTap's journey. ApTap was founded by the fantastic trio, Bill Billingsley, CCO, Nadal Sarkitbayev, CEO, and Isa Ibrahim, CTO. The vision of the company is to make canceling, switching, or signing up to new providers take seconds rather than hours. The ApTap team is working on improving user awareness and offer control, saving people time and money, whilst at the same time, from the perspective of financial services and suppliers, to help them drive user engagement and revenue. I'm Naily Makangu, your host of the Mary Poppins of Business live show and the founders of Athena Leaders, an organization that's designed to help you create a happy and productive workplace playground, especially for startups wanting to turn their dreams into reality. Before we jump in and talk to our amazing guests, let's look at our 3 ground rules. Number 1, this is not a monologue. If you'd like to interact with us, please put your questions, your tips, your aha moments in the chat or use hashtag Athena Leaders. Number 2, if you are a startup or know someone who has a great story to tell, please get in touch with us. We already have January fully booked with amazing stories. Don't miss out. Get in touch with us and let's share and grow this community to inspire even more startups out there to turn their dreams into reality. And rule number 3, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hashtag Athena Leaders for any questions. Don't miss up the opportunities to talk to amazing founders. And if you are part of the ApTap teams watching, do use the comment to cheer the guys along. Issa and Will, welcome to the show. I've been looking forward to finally having this conversation with you since the first talk that we had. But before we start in and get into the nitty-gritty details of your journey and the journey of ApTap, can you tell us a bit more about ApTap, the company, and what is it that you do?
Sure, no problem. Well, firstly, thank you for having us both here today. Been looking forward to it as well. ApTap in a nutshell, we are essentially intelligent bill management tools. So we start by trying to understand who a customer is through their open banking transactions, through things like their energy usage, their broadband speeds. We really bring all of these different data sets together to say, well, okay, based on your user profile, here are the best deals on the market for you, and then allow that customer or empower that customer to take the action they feel is appropriate, whether that's canceling a service, switching to a new provider, a new merchant, signing up to a new supplier or a new product, or whether that's trying to communicate with a supplier directly. And what we do is then package all of that up into a very simple set of APIs or very simple technical integration for someone like a financial institution or a budgeting tool, anyone who's got a kind of financial relationship with a customer. We allow them essentially to embed those tools into their platform so that their customers can either save money, whatever their priorities are, right? Whether that's saving money or being greener, or looking for, maybe you're a gamer and you want faster broadband, for example. Really, it's about understand the customer and help them take action. I think you're on mute there, Naily.
What I love about your journey is being able to tackle the 2 different areas in terms of helping users and also helping the providers and the financial services. But one thing that's quite striking, as young entrepreneurs entering the financial service market or industry, what has been your experience?
Do you want to start? It's never-ending list.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, firstly, I guess at the beginning, it was getting used to always being, some of the youngest in the room when you have a meeting and you have these experienced bankers who are, anyway, let me not say
Careful.
anything. Yeah, I gotta be careful. Basically you have people who've been in the industry for a while and if you're not experienced, it takes a bit more to convince them when you're young and fresh out of uni. It takes a lot more to convince people to listen to you in the first place. So I guess that was one of the challenges. I will continue on that.
I think there's an element of naivety that's allowed us to kind of be a little bit headstrong and push through with what Issa's saying. In terms of kind of, I guess, delving into the world of fintech and generally being a startup founder, I think it's something that almost nothing, or at least for me, really prepare you for. I think there's a lot of different facets to it. There are a lot of different kind of social implications, whether that's your personal finances, how that affects your relationships, but then as well, how do you build up a network from scratch? How do you become a credible source of information, as he's talking about? So there are all these different kind of things that you at least sit in the back of your mind, for me, that you need to learn how to manage, and really that's I think an exercise in being able to zoom out and zoom back in on what's important at a certain point in time. Which I think is probably one of the hardest things to master, and those who are successful seem to have at least nailed down that quality. I think that for me is probably the thing that moving forward try to kind of constantly improve upon, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's right. I guess the startup journey, and I love what you've said as well, is you can read as many books as you want about building a startup, but it's really once you go under the bonnet and start doing it that you really figure out what it is about. And I guess when it comes to, again, as you said, you bravely enter the market, the financial services industry. Yet at the beginning, as you said, you just finished university. How did you narrow down to this idea? Was it the first idea that you had, or there were multiple ones before getting to that particular one?
Far from the first one. It was, I think, between especially Issa and Nadal, our third co-founder, there was very much a focus on kind of the environment and I guess more broadly kind of engineering. For me, as a biologist, I was very much kind of along the lines of healthcare and medicine and the intersection of technology throughout those kind of industries. And I think between the three of us, we brought some really different perspectives to the table, and that kind of allowed us to broaden our scope, I suppose, and not really get hunkered down into one thing too soon. And we started ApTap, the kind of ideation process, probably at the beginning of 2017, I suppose, that kind of winter time, and then incorporated the business beginning of 2018. But I would still say that by 2018 we had a tangent that we knew we wanted to go down. And throughout the course of 2018, it was about understanding how do we run a business, how do we structure these things, how do we divide our roles and responsibilities and that sort of thing. But preceding that, it really was about iteration. And if you want to talk a little bit about the story,
in terms
how we got there,
how we got to the product.
I
guess. So the original idea was about linking. It was called. It doesn't matter if I give the name anyway. No, instead it was called Greener, and it was basically trying to link your spending to your carbon footprint. So, tracking using open banking to give you a carbon footprint score based on the places you buy things, what type of transport you use, etc., etc. But back then, we quickly learned that no one was willing to pay to be greener. So we quickly started ideating around other things. And as we said, open banking was just being introduced around that time. This was 2017, late 2017. So we started ideating around things we could do with that, apart from linking to your carbon, linking your carbon footprint and your spend. And we started ideating around a challenger bank, really. And now that I think back, it was basically a challenger bank with some more features in there. And we started off there, but around that time, Monzo, Revolut were raising millions and millions. They already were gaining hundreds of thousands of customers. It just looked like an overcrowded space, and a lot of work, especially getting a banking license will take you probably around 5 years. You might be able to do shorter than that. But there was just a lot of legwork, and the space was already very full. And so one of our features, which was canceling your subscriptions and managing your bills and subscriptions, is what a lot of users said they like. So we did a lot of actual kind of user feedback interviews. So we'd create a lot of prototypes and we'd give it to people and they'd play around with it and we'd get their feedback. And that cancellation feature and in terms of managing bills seemed to be the most popular. So I guess that's how we started focusing on that in terms of bills and subscriptions and going down that route. And yeah, ApTap kind of just evolved from there.
It's interesting to see how you had a lot of ideas, but the birth of ApTap actually came from different ideas that you've tried. And I guess once you've narrowed down, so you had the research, you spoke to the market, and understood that this is kind of where you wanted to go and start growing. How did you feel when you decided this is it? This is the roots of ApTap. How did it make you feel at that moment?
Was there a kind of point like that for you? For me, I'm not sure there was ever like now this is it, this is what we're doing. I think it really was an evolution, something that iterated itself into like, hang on, now we look back, especially today, right? We look back over the last 4.5 years or so, and we're like, wow, look how far we've come and the things that we've done. And then you look forward and you're like, geez, I've still got so much to do, so many things that we'd like to tackle, both with ApTap and beyond, right? But I'm not sure there was like an individual like turning point per se, but I think what really fueled the fire was that pivot, the initial kind of it's all about clarity and control for customers. What actions can they take that Issa just spoke about? That was then, we kind of took that actually to Imperial College, where we were all at university together. They sponsored both Issa and Nadal for entrepreneurial visas. And I think that was part of we could be onto something good here if Imperial's backing it. This is a world-renowned institution that's saying you guys could be onto something. And then it evolved further, right? We raised some money through family and friends, and we took that then to places like Accenture's FinTech Innovation Lab. And the first time we applied, we got rejected, but we had that's the life of a founder, right? It's all about taking those learnings on board. But the feedback from them, from the financial institutions that were there, was very much, we like what you're up to. We like the consumer proposition, but what's in it for us? Like, stop cutting us out of the equation here and try and bring us into this. And that's really, I think, beginning of 2019, where we were like, okay, this could be a business that really scales to something that makes an impact on people's lives, that could generate some real revenue, right? It's a really viable business for both ourselves, for the financial institutions, could do the right thing for customers. And we've got now an opportunity to disrupt a multi-billion-pound affiliate market, not just in the UK, but worldwide as we start to grow. So I think probably that pivot into, away from kind of a consumer-facing, probably subpar digital bank that we were looking at becoming in 2018, into a very niche kind of, this is what we're going to tackle at the beginning of 2019, and kind of nailing down some distribution channels in terms of kind of going B2B to C, as it were. That, I think, was probably our most pivotal moment to date.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
And what are those, now that you're really focusing mostly on this financial services and the providers area, what are the key features that really attract them when they hear the ApTap story and what you are building?
Do you want to talk through like the actual product and what that looks like, what we've got?
Yes, let me kind of talk through the product in a nutshell in terms of what we currently have. So as a consumer, you'd arrive on our platform, and first we would ask you to link a bank account. Obviously, that's due to open banking, and that also helps us automatically detect all of your bills and subscriptions, because there's a lot of people out there who are paying for things that they don't even know. So we ask you to link your bank account so we find those things that you don't know as well. We then organize them for you on a simple calendar so you know what you're paying and when. So, I mean, one random stat is that over half the money that leaves your bank account does so on a recurring basis. which means that you don't say yes or no, it just leaves. So it's very important for us to organize that and let you know when these payments are coming and when and how much is coming out. From this, we then do an automatic comparison of your bills versus deals on the market. Currently, we're only switching energy and broadband, but obviously we have views to expand into other industries. And then we allow you to switch your broadband and energy providers with as little as roughly about 3 clicks. A bit more than that, depending on if you were to input some extra information. But the point being is that we try and get rid of all of the tedious form filling that you would usually have to do on other service providers' websites, your name, address, all these kind of things. We already know that information about you. We've verified that with the bank. We can then pass that on to the supplier. So the switching process for you is very quick. We've seen our fastest switch in about a minute and a half.
It's 106 seconds.
106 seconds to switch energy and save money. So like we said, we're trying to help people save time and money. And I guess the other things we bring in, we do, slight analytics and insights based on what we see you're spending. We can tell you we can identify areas you can save on, and things like that. And we're looking to expand these features a lot more moving forward in the next next few months.
Moving forward, right, the next 6 to 12 months is really exciting. I think in terms of time, 106 seconds is our fastest switch. We've saved the customer up to £786 on a single switch, which for us is, what can a customer then do with that £786? And this is where the kind of customer value proposition starts to seep into a value proposition for a financial institution. So for someone like TSB Bank, who we work with, this is about how do we bring the customer back at the right time? Hey, you're on the 11th month of your 12-month energy contract. Why don't you come and check out the other deals that we've already found for you, right? You're not doing that legwork. We've done that for you. So that's an engagement piece, right? And then every time someone switches or signs up to a service, we never charge the consumer. They will never be charged to use ApTap. They say never, but I'm saying it. We make an affiliate commission every time, let's say ESA switches to BT, for example. BT would pay us a customer acquisition fee, essentially. And that then we share with the financial institution. So we're a revenue driver there. We're moving into the kind of cancellation space as we move forward. And that is about kind of time saving, cost cutting for both the customer and a partner of ours. And then there are kind of the cross-selling, upselling opportunities that come with saving £786. Can I go and open an ISA? Can I go and open a new savings account, or put that into a mortgage payment or into an interest payment on a loan? Whatever it is, it's about, for TSB, their motto is kind of money confidence, right? For someone like Tesco Bank, it's every little helps. These are themes for us that really underline what we're trying to do as a business. But then the evolution is, we move across industries. We kind of move down our kind of funnel in terms of bill management tools. And that's about disrupting the affiliate model. So how do we improve BT's experience for onboarding a customer or communicating with a customer, putting products in front of customers at the right time, in the right place, with the right products. So it really is a pretty colossal task. I think that goes back to our kind of probably naivety at the beginning of our journey. It's really, really an exciting place to be in.
As I was actually smiling and nodding and listening to the journey, I could actually see the roadmap of what ApTap, starting from the foundation and the initial idea and how it's growing and growing, and there's still more to do. Yet at the same time, there's a lot of values that you keep on bringing. And I guess as we talk about roadmap and the growth of products, of course, you are the CTO and the responsible for the technology and the product developments, and you work closely with the other co-founders as well to bring the product. How do the three of you and the rest of the team, of course, work together to decide and agree on what to do next?
We just fight. Proper decision.
Honestly, it's that specific aspect of it has been a massive learning curve for us. Honestly, I think we've had to learn and evolve, especially as the team grows. We found that as your team grows, there's things happening in a lot of different areas that you may not be you can't have your finger in every pie. You've got to divide and conquer. So, keeping aligned with all other departments and making sure everybody knows what's going on and why things are going on, I think is very important. And we've learned a lot there. So how are we tackling this right now? Honestly, I think we've just been, we've learned in the past that this aspect of things is hugely important. So we try and basically having a product manager that syncs between tech and sales. I think it's highly important because, you want someone that understands the technicalities of it, but is also not going to bore the sales guys with too much detail. So finding that right balance.
We just don't understand.
They just don't understand. So finding that balance, I think, is very key, and making sure you have a person in your team that can talk, in layman's terms and also understand the technical layman.
Yeah, I am a layman, I suppose.
There you go.
Would totally resonate with you. So I think what it boils down to is the why, as you mentioned, and just general transparency across the board, especially at the stage we're at, right? We're a 11-person business or something today. As that grows and as we kind of extrapolate ourselves into various different industries, then it might get a little bit more complex and a little bit more political, but let's try and avoid that as long as possible. And I think having some, the structure that Issa spoke about has allowed us to improve efficiency. I think what we kind of working toward, what we are kind of working towards now as a business is kind of having, a number of kind of core tenets that we shall always adhere to. And if something doesn't kind of fall in line with one of those, then it's not for right now. It might be something that's backlogged for the future.
Right.
You've got to be a little bit ruthless in kind of cutting ideas sometimes, unfortunately.
Very true.
Oh, yes.
Honestly, it's very easy to get excited. So many features pop in your head. Oh, it'd be really cool if we do this. Honestly, that just drags you away from focusing on the core proposition. And that's really what makes you a good business and makes you money at the end of the day, the proposition. So.
Yeah, and I love that because it reminds me of a story when I was working with one of the startups. Sometimes people have a lot of ideas, especially if they come from the business side and they're not on the tech side. And even creating a dashboard, some people feel, it's so easy, just some diagrams. And I was speaking to my clients who wanted 25 metrics on a dashboard. We went down to 15 for the mock-up on the prototype, but I told them, okay, so now we're going deep. We're going to go for only 3. And it's like, only 3, it's not enough. So when we started working on each metrics to understand, to really go in the details, it's not just a dashboard, right? It's not just like a lovely pie chart. What data goes in it, the impact on the analytics behind it, what the customer might want to do with it. You spend days on one feature, and that's really why it's important. I mean, the prioritization that you both talked about and how to be ruthless with that is very, very important.
Definitely.
So easy to get lost. And I think, that luckily we've got some brilliant minds in the business that, I wouldn't say luckily, thankfully, brilliant minds in the business that, can, I think as founders, you tend to be a little bit more high risk and a little bit more visionary. And having some people around you that can ground you and say, hey, what about this? Have you thought about that? What are the kind of layers behind what you're trying to do here? Toning down our ignorance, perhaps, through, whether that's an investor or an advisor or someone in the core team, doesn't matter, right? But it's great to have those kind of people around. So if any of the team are, thank you for being part of it.
I'd also say as well, as a startup, because you move quite fast, it's quite easy to get features. With us, we have a very good tech team, thanks to everyone on our tech team who's doing a great job, but you can move very fast. You can release a feature in a few weeks and you can get very carried away and excited. So, we can do this in 2 weeks. Oh, let's do it. And it's great because, you can move fast and get things and iterate quickly, but you also have to be careful because, you can throw a feature in there and you find out that you've wasted the last 3 weeks just developing something no one uses. So you have to be a lot more, structured and
it's analytical, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Analytical about your approach here.
Sometimes you're going to learn the hard way and make mistakes, and just lost a month of time, but that's okay as long as there's been a kind of process behind how we got there. Yeah, to Issa's point, if it's just kind of, this is cool, I like this, we're going to go do it, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There needs to be a kind of process behind it. So I think we're improving on that front and continue to do so, and we'll need to if we want to scale properly.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing a lot, especially this part of the interview, are the word processes, structure, and prioritization. Now, I know that you are about to close a funding round. You've been working really, really hard on that. What was going through your mind when you first started the fundraising journey? And of course, we're going to bring it back to where you are now and going next, especially when we talk about processes and structure and prioritization. So the first question is about what was going through your mind whilst you're going through the fundraising journey?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were saying about the why. Why are we raising money? And I think that's, again, we go back to the core tenets of the company. What are we trying to do here? That raising money is not an easy task by any means. Raising money as an early stage startup, which is, notoriously high risk, is even harder. I can't speak to a Series A, B, C at the moment. Hopefully we'll get there one day. Or hopefully we won't even need it at all. We shall see. But I think it's all about building a story. It's, as a founder, you've got the ability, it's in your hands how you frame your proposition to investors, to other stakeholders, to, potential clients or partners. So I think you really have to, you need to be a little bit ruthless in that regard as well, where it's, what is my core proposition? What are the 3 things we're really trying to deliver on today, and that will get us to X, Y, and Z milestones that will prove success, right? And or a subset of success. And I think that's often seen as traction in user base or revenue, and of course those are very important. But there might be some other things in your business that you find are important milestones that will drive substantial growth. So, for us, that's things like people switching bills, or the number of active users we have, the number of clients we have on board, the number of industries that we cater to in terms of our comparison and switching and signups. Because the vision behind our business is that we want to build what we call a subscription store. Really one place where anything you pay for on a recurring basis is housed, and that's brought to you in the place you're managing your money. So in terms of fundraising, it's certainly not an easy process, and it will always, I think, take longer than anticipated for most people, at least those who I know that have also gone through the process. There are so many things that you just cannot predict, and so I think the key is to, at least for us, has been, how do we make it as easy as possible for someone to invest in our business? Same with sales, right? How do you make it as easy as possible for someone to pick up this product and run with it? Not saying we've always done a fantastic job, but we've come this far. We've got some big clients on board. We've got some really cool investors on board, and I think having a group of investors in your second round, in your third round, who are behind you, who are behind the vision, who can obviously continue to inject capital, but can bring other forms of value to you, whether that's introductions or knowledge, is completely invaluable. So I think starting this round that we've just gone through or going through, it's been about first going to our current kind of incumbent investor base and saying, look, this is what's going on. This is what the last years look like. This is what these are the lessons we've learned, the goals for the future, that sort of thing, and getting them, so that they continue to back the business. And at that point, it makes your external funding significantly easier. But by no means is it a walk in the park. And hopefully we'll be able to announce something fun before the end of this month, but we shall see.
Fingers crossed. And I will also keep a bottle of bubbly to cheer for you guys as well. And I guess once you get to that moment, right, when the announcement goes out, or once you sign or the ink is about to dry, how will you feel, or how would you celebrate as a, because obviously as entrepreneurs, I'm sure, I'm going to ask this question next, I'm sure your head is already full of what to do next. But if we can just stop in that moment and remind other entrepreneurs out there to just have fun, what do you have in store for the moment where you are either using your pen and signing that contract or clicking on the electronic button to say signs?
Yeah, I don't know about you. For me, we've done 2 funding rounds today, and the first one was like
3 now. Oh, not 2, sorry.
Careful that. Mind blown. Someone backs our business. Someone who's not a friend or family member of ours has got behind us, and that for me was pretty emotional, to be honest. And it really put some fire up under us to do something bigger than we thought at the time that it could be. And you celebrate that. Obviously, I kind of called everyone that I knew. I was like, we're doing it. And then the next morning you wake up and you're like, shit, I've got X £100,000 of these people's money to do something legitimate with. And then I think the next round then was a little bit more sober, but you have to celebrate the wins. This is something that will propel your business forward. This is fuel for your fire, right? For your engines. There's always the analogy of as a startup founder, you're building your plane in free fall. Like you've jumped off a cliff and now you've got to build your glider. And I think, investment can be the fuel that helps you lift off and stay afloat or drive your business forward. So of course, celebrate it, take the night, take the weekend, whatever it is, and make the most of it, with the knowledge that you will get back to work and you'll help you'll be driving your business forward. I think the big wins are the sales for me, and maybe the product releases for you, I imagine.
But I mean, honestly, for me, in terms of like when we raise funding, I'd say it is a good feeling, especially when you close the round. It's a great feeling. But as a founder, the biggest feeling is we now have to just do everything bigger and better. The workload, you think it would decrease, but it increases, the pressures increase, everything so you just got to learn to keep leveling up as individually, not just as a business, but personally as well, to deal with the pressure and everything else that comes with it. So I'd say those are the main things for me. It does feel great and definitely celebrate, but remember that after the celebration, it's like, right, things are getting even more serious than they were now. So,
But what do you mean by leveling up as personally?
I think you got to keep. As a startup founder, honestly, you should never stop learning. You got to keep learning as much as you can every day. And by leveling up, I mean not all the time, but usually when you raise funding, you will grow in team size, and that will probably mean you'll have more people under you. And by leveling up, I mean you need to be better. Be better at managing people and more people, and not just that. Also improve your personal skills in terms of how you deal with people and so you make your life easier. Your workload is increasing. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't necessarily mean your time has to decrease. You can improve yourself and level up personally so that you tackle your work in a much more efficient manner. And that's really what I mean in terms of just keep learning and keep finding better and more efficient ways to do the things that you're already doing.
100% resonate. And I think that's something that we really look for in the people that join the team. People with the growth mindset, people who aren't deterred by a failure or poor results in something if they've gone through the right process, the kind of design thinking or and then it's also about balancing that with enjoying it. If you're not enjoying the ride, then take a look at why. And manage I think there's a balance between being ambitious and managing your expectations and hitting targets and setting, goals that are maybe far-fetched, but, will drive you to try and reach those. So it's tough. It's a tough balance to strike. But I think in terms of kind of leveling up, it's easy to say, just be better at everything, but it's not that easy. So for me, I kind of try and focus on, 2 or 3 things. Maybe that's like efficiency, maybe that's relationships, communication, but definitely worth, I think, mentioning just managing your own mental health for sure, and your own physical health. And both of those things are so fundamental to good performance, and to the mindset that Isa's speaking about, that if you let those slip, then kind of everything else slips with it. Yeah, so I think whether that's for me more recently, we've kind of had kind of some personal experiences that have put a lot of things into perspective from a kind of business angle. There are, times where I've just been really on it, and I'm like, why am I performing so well at the moment? And you kind of have to look and reflect. And I think then it's about, you've got these tremendous lows and highs while being a startup founder. You can go from having the worst day ever to 12 hours later having the best day of your life. I think just being able to find that kind of middle ground, that constant that's hopefully on a curve up, right? But knowing that kind of, Nal's a physicist, so with every action, an opposite reaction, right? So there is realm for catastrophic failure, but that means there's realm for an unbelievable success. So mediating that in your mind, I think, is fundamental.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
Thanks for sharing so openly. I mean, throughout the entire show. And yes, I believe that is something that's not talked about quite a lot, because the impression that people have for startup founders is to work 24/7 and not really think a lot more about the personal. And I love what you said about bringing, bear in mind of the personal aspect and also the mindset. I guess for anyone watching this, in fact, if you have any questions, even if it's on replay, #AthenaLeaders. But I would highly recommend that you go back and watch from the beginning. There's been a lot of incredible tips that Will and Isa have been sharing. We are slowly getting towards the end of the session, and I've got a few more questions, especially to really go deep into helping other startups turn their dreams into a reality. And one question is more on the technical aspects is, if you are talking today to a new early stage founder getting in there, but they're not really from a technical background, what are a couple of tips that you might share with them as they are getting ready to build their product?
Yeah, good luck. Finding a technical either co-founder or early stage partner, someone that you can get invested in your business, especially if you're in fintech or dealing with anything that has to do with technology, is massively important, honestly. Probably one of the key things that you need to do. And in terms of finding that person, honestly, I'd say use universities, especially university fairs, university enterprise labs, or like university innovation labs and things like that. You have things like Code Camp and basically free places where you can go find a community of developers. I would encourage using those as much as possible, because, like I said, number one, hiring a developer is not cheap. And as an early stage startup, it's way out of the realm of most people. If you coming from university or something like that, you don't have enough money to start hiring people to build things that you haven't even validated, which is the number one rule I'd actually give here is, please don't ever start building tech without validating that it's necessary. You can prototype tech very easily with drag and drop builders without any tech knowledge. Don't build tech without validating. You can waste a lot of money there. And then in terms of finding a technical either co-founder or early stage business partner, I'd say definitely universities and developer communities that are open for anyone to join. And afterwards I can share some names of the actual communities, but honestly, anyone that's near your area, just give them a go. Just talk to people. You need to get out there and talk to people. That's one of the biggest things we found at the beginning of the company, is that we did a lot of networking, just going to events, and these are all free events. So we just go to events. You can use Eventbrite, see what tech events are going on that are in your industry. Go talk to as many people as you can. You've got to put yourself out there, and I promise you, you'll talk to the right person eventually, who will put you in touch with this person, and then the ball starts rolling from there.
It does snowball, doesn't it? I think to Issa's point, the barrier to building a really good prototype is getting lower every day. And if your job as a founder is to inspire other people to come and work with you on this project, so in doing so, if you can put together what is can be a basic prototype, but something that we've always found that visualizing what we do is really helped in almost any aspect of trying to explain our business to investors, to clients, to individuals. What can you do from day one to validate your business through a lean canvas, through kind of various product market fit or lean activities or experiments that, for us, that was literally walking down the street outside of Imperial, down Exhibition Road, and shaking people, putting an iPad in front of them, being like, can you answer this questionnaire? It'll take you 2 minutes. So, go and do the dirty work, put yourself out there, try and build up whatever you can without kind of delving, wasting too much time on it, essentially. But then there are platforms out there like Upwork, like Fiverr, that are starting to lower the barrier to entry for people who are non-tech, that want, the first prototypes built, maybe betas or alphas even, that work in theory, but, are just that one step further from a prototype. And I think putting those in front of people who are technical, I found kind of will get them a little bit more excited about your business. And maybe even, if you put something down in front of them, it'll be, I can do that better. Let me let me help you out. If you see that, that's a great sign.
Brilliant. So just a quick summary. Talk to people, validate, and find communities that you can work on. Thanks very much for answering this question in depth as well. We've got a great question actually coming through the chat that we are going to pop up on the screen. First, nice compliments. You seem to bounce off each other quite well, which is a core skill to have when managing other people. What are the challenges you found working with each other and also managing a team at the start? Ooh, quite exciting. You might as well put Nadal in there as well. So what are the challenges you found working the three of us?
No, I mean, look, it's not been a walk in the park, for sure. I think there was a point in time where we kind of said we are transitioning now from just being friends into being business partners, and it's not been easy. I think there are points in time where you're sat down in a room discussing something. It gets, we're all passionate about this business. It might get a little bit heated, and we just have to say, look, this is not about who you are, what your idea, like your background, whatever it is. It's about what's going on in the business and how do we progress it. And I think us working through that over the past couple of years has been, it's been a challenge. It's also been enjoyable. It's been fun to watch kind of relationship from an objective perspective, kind of watch relationships develop. And I think that then kind of manifests itself into managing the wider team. We started our friendship by playing football together, and kind of thanks for the compliment. I think there's been some kind of that chemistry on the pitch for us definitely carried on into the business. But then how do we emulate that in our company now with individuals who might hate football, much to our dismay. But it's the same kind of camaraderie. It's the same. We're pushing for the same goal here. We might need a certain person to do a certain thing at a certain time, and I think I revert back to the why. If we can get people behind why we're doing this thing, the core tenets that will lead us to that point, and give them the tools then to go away and do it. Point you in a direction. This is what we're trying to get to. This is why we're trying to get to it. Here are the things you need to get there. Go and do it. I think it's about empowering people. We try and do that with each other. Try and do that with the rest of our team, for sure.
Agreed. And I think also what Will mentioned earlier about keeping healthy mind and body is also very important here, because if your mind is not in the right place or your body is not in the right place, you can have situations or challenges can arise and you will lose your cool, and that's just not what, that's not helpful for anyone, not for you personally or not for the business as well. So making sure that everyone on the team is taking care of themselves and their mind and bodies in a good place to deal with these challenges is also very important. So.
Definitely. One of the way I love to describe partnerships, especially when it comes to startup co-founders, is a marriage. And it seems that listening to your story, listening to your story so far, you have built a really wonderful marriage, and you've dealt with the relationship challenges by being understanding, growing as individual, and growing as a couple as well. Now,
or a trio.
Or a tree. Well, a couple of trees. A couple of trees. Three or probably. Now, before I ask one final question, let's first remind anybody out there how to find out more about ApTap, and more importantly, how do I get a hat like the one Will's wedding ring?
See, these are in high demand. These things.
I need to go on.
Only two of these exist.
Two of these in existence. This was actually my I think it was your birthday present from me a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh man, I'm having one of those as well. So it was Isa's birthday present to both of us.
Both of us.
That's just find ApTap. ApTap.co.uk, very simple. It's aptap.co.uk. We will be actually launching an iOS and Android application, hopefully over the course of the next kind of 6 to 8 weeks or so. What else? Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I think it's all ApTap UK. And then you'll be able to find us, Isa and Will and Nadal off of those. We're tagged in those things, I think. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And again, as I've said before, I highly recommend that anyone watching, whether they want to be inspired to start their own startup, whether they are in the financial industry, please keep an eye out on ApTap and the three incredible founders. It's been a pleasure having them on the show. Do watch and share this show for any other startups out there that want to find out more about growing their organization and just putting their ideas out there. I've got one final, very tricky question for Will and Isa. I'm going to test them. We didn't prepare this, so let's see how they get on with that. Here's the question. How would you describe your startup experience in one word?
Roller coaster.
That's my one.
That's the only
Already
word.
sick.
That's the only word. I don't think you need anything else. You're gonna go. There's gonna be ups. There's gonna be downs.
That's the thing.
That's the only thing guaranteed about the startup life.
Yeah. Anything I think would just be a synonym of roller coaster. I think maybe emotional in both the highs and the lows.
Perfect.
So yeah, I think, if there are founders listening, watching, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to chat and offer up anything we can to help.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again to the ApTap team. We had Will and Isa, the trio, the co-founders of ApTap. Again, it's been an incredible journey, and I'm really, really excited to have been, and even humbled to have been given the opportunity to really share your message out there. And I've had such a brilliant time. And I'm personally going to watch this again, and also going to suggest that other startups, especially early stage founders that might not 100% be ready or are worried about their growth, to really listen to this, because it wasn't just about ApTap or your personal journey, but there was a lot of advice and practical tips that they could take from today. For everybody else watching, thanks for watching. And anyone watching the replay, #AthenaLeaders for any feedback or questions. See you at the next show. But remember, let's design a happy, and productive workplace playground. And yes, it's possible to do that even when you work in a startup. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, honestly.
Yeah, it's been great.